Straight ahead on OC News, Irma now moves north into Georgia and the Carolinas, but not before leaving a trail of destruction behind it. Billions are left without electricity.
California is taking action against Trump's decision to end DACA, and the Pope also speaks out against the issue.
It's been 16 years since the attack on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. A Fullerton man remembers. All these stories plus weather and sports. OC News starts right now.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us here at OC News. I'm Stephanie Stevenson.
And I'm Rachel Vito. OC News is brought to you by the broadcast journalism students at Cal State Fullerton. Florida is left picking up the pieces after Hurricane Irma. Reporter Chanel Riggin has more on the destruction left behind the storm.
As Tropical Storm Irma continues to move northeast through the Carolinas, President Trump has declared a state of emergency in Alabama. This is in addition to Florida, Georgia, and Puerto Rico. Irma originally made landfall in Florida Sunday as a Category 4 hurricane, creating a 400-mile path of destruction. At least 5 deaths have been reported in Florida in connection to Hurricane Irma, and more than 60% of Florida residents have been left without power. President Trump's Homeland Security advisor said it could be weeks before power is restored. CNN's Art Sandusky has the story.
Hurricane Irma slamming Florida. Heavy rains, strong winds, and it is still on the move, making its way up the southeastern edge of the U.S. Now weakened to a tropical storm, the danger not yet over. Streets flooded from the Florida Keys to South Carolina. Tonight, more than 6.5 million people are without power in Florida alone. Jacksonville hit with a record Irma-generated surge, turning its streets into rivers. Storm surge warnings in effect for much of the western Florida coast and the entire Georgia coast. Charleston now feeling Irma's wrath as waves crash onto its shores. Ripping through the middle of Florida late Sunday, Irma battered the entire state with sustained winds and massive wind gusts. Rescue efforts continue for those who stayed to wait out the storm. In Martin County, Florida's Treasure Coast, a marine unit dispatched after 2 people tried to ride out the storm on their sailboat. They survived. And a scuba diver, his life dangling by a rope, rescued near West Palm Beach. The storm delivering more than just destruction. Coral Springs emergency crews were called out to help deliver a baby in the height of the storm, using their armored vehicle to navigate through strong winds and high water.
When we got there, she was pretty much almost all the way out. The mother of the person in labor was actually pretty much delivering the baby, her own granddaughter, in the bathroom on the floor.
Wow.
And I've never met or seen a more calm scene in the chaos that was going on outside.
Miami's streets flooded and left with huge sinkholes, leaving hazardous conditions as cars try to steer through the murky waters. The cost of the damages yet to be assessed. One estimate, it will top Hurricane Katrina even before it hit Florida.
That's the latest on Hurricane Irma. Now back to you guys.
A new infection has struck the CSUF campus, leaving school health officials concerned about a potential outbreak. Frank Rodarte is live in front of the Student Health Center with more information.
2 students were diagnosed with disease chickenpox here at Cal State Fullerton. They were seen by physicians here at the Wellness Center and were told to stay home until the symptoms were gone. This is still a growing concern at Cal State Fullerton because the disease is highly contagious and students can be susceptible to it. Disease can be spread through air pathogens, sharing drinks, or shaking somebody's hand. The symptoms are loss of appetite, headache, tiredness, or rash. So if you have any of these symptoms, please contact your doctor or a physician here at the Wellness Center immediately because it could be fatal for people over the age of 12. For OC News, I'm Frank Rodarte.
California is taking actions against the repeal of the Deferred Action for the Childhood Arrivals, also known as the DACA program. Lucas Dare Mugarguchian has more.
Great state of California will be filing a lawsuit today against the Trump administration.
The state of California has joined with the UC system in suing the Trump administration over the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals program. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra announced the suit today.
In this country, I've never seen a case where we tell children that we're going to punish them for acts that they were not responsible for.
Religious figures are also speaking out against the decision to repeal DACA. On the papal plane, the Pope issued a statement to President Trump.
Himself has joined in condemning the Trump administration. In a press conference on the papal plane, he said, "The President of the United States presents himself as pro-life, and if he is a good pro-lifer, he understands that family is the cradle of life, and its unity must be protected."
Leaders take actions. Students must continue to fight to pursue their education without DACA.
Among hundreds of thousands affected by the decision to repeal DACA,
known as DACA, that was effectuated under the Obama administration, is being rescinded.
one student continues to push forward.
I think there's an initial impact that happens, where it's oh man, this is happening.
This is Jose Solano, a senior political science major at Cal State Fullerton. He knows that DACA helps him pursue his education, but he's also prepared to move on without it.
For me, it's definitely continue to do what I do, continue to pursue my education, continue to seek those opportunities that are gonna better my life.
While applying for graduate school, Solano believed DACA was originally going to help him pay for it all. He worries about his future, but his positive attitude keeps him moving forward.
I consider myself to be a realist, where it's okay, I acknowledge what's happening, but I'm also an optimist, and so I hope for the best that, things will work out, and, those affected by the decision to end DACA, it'll work out, and they'll be able to have those opportunities, maybe pathway to citizenship, I don't know.
Students like Jose must now rely on Congress to come up with a new plan of action before the March deadline. Reporting for OC News, this is Lucas Dermagerdician.
A Fullerton resident has created a safe space for those to mourn the 9/11 victims. Sarah Hidalgo has more on the story.
"16 years ago today, the world stood together, gathered around radios and televisions, to the sound of terror erupting in New York City. For those on the West Coast, all we could do is watch in fear as a city lost thousands of friends, loved ones, and heroes. For Fullerton resident Scott Townley, an engineer for Orange County Fire Authority, it was important for him to show his respect to those on the East Coast.
Next day I was like, I've got to do something. I know, what can I do from the West Coast? I can put a sign out in my yard. So there's a sign out in the middle of my yard that was hand painted 2 days after the towers fell.
Scott's arts and crafts sign was a way for him to show his support to the New Yorkers and the U.S. But shortly after he placed his sign onto his lawn, his home turned out to be the place where the community came to pay their respects.
One lady who comes every year on 9/11, she will sit on my front porch for the entire day. And she knew 10 of the firefighters, and she used to babysit for all their kids. So she comes and she lays a single red rose at each one of the crosses of the firefighters she knew.
Scott Townley's 9/11 memorial will be up all day today, and tomorrow he will start taking it down. To see his memorial, you can visit him at the corner of Ferns and Woods in Fullerton. Reporting for OC News, I'm Sarah Hidalgo.
Coming up after the break, we learn about an interfaith group, the Blessing of the Waves.
We also have a look at the world of sports. Stay tuned.
.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to getschool.com.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
It was a hot one today in Southern California and around the whole country. Here's Roxana Ramos with the weather report.
Thanks, Stephanie. So today for the current in Fullerton, we have 92 degrees and low of 69, with low winds of 6 miles per hour. The humidity is 43 degrees and the sunrise is 6:32 a.m. and the sun will set at 7:03. Not only was it warm in SoCal, it was also warm around the country. So we have, for the East Coast, it's mid-70s and lower, the Pacific, where Hurricane Irma is, there will high 70s and about 57. For the Pacific Northwest, it's mid-80s, high 70s. And for SoCal, it's pretty warm, especially in Phoenix right now, it's 106 degrees. And in the Midwest, it is hot as well. And for our 5-day forecast for Fullerton, tomorrow it'll be 87 degrees with low 66. On Wednesday, it'll be 79 degrees, 63 degrees is the low. It'll be partly sunny starting Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it'll be on Thursday 74 degrees with low 64 degrees, and Friday high 75 with low 62. And on Saturday, it'll start to warm up to 83 degrees and low to 63. Thank you for watching. I'm Roxana Ramos.
Water is one of the great images of life and energy. The Blessing of the Waves in Huntington Beach is a yearly gathering of diverse interfaith groups celebrating life, peace, and the respect for the role water plays in our lives. Robert Pike has the story.
The ocean is a magical place, spellbound by its beauty. It has called to many over the centuries. For some, the ocean could be seen as a divide between land, but for the residents of Huntington Beach, the yearly Blessing of the Waves honors the ocean for keeping them together. The event brings people from different religious beliefs and backgrounds to honor one another in the ocean they share, blessing the waves, those who ride them, and the lifeguards protecting them, while celebrating one another in their diversity.
I'm so grateful for the ocean and everything it's given us. And I know it does great things for our kids.
The ocean can be seen as a spiritual place, and for Zoran Forgarini, a surf coach at Edison High School, being able to coach his kids every day is a blessing.
It's amazing they get to wake up every day at the crack of dawn and get in the water, and it's such a healthy, good thing. And I don't know if you surf, but when you go in the water, it's literally like kind of like a baptism, and it just washes everything away.
Being in the ocean cleanses the soul. The line between faith and surfing to many is blurred, in that surfing is almost like a religion.
You recognize that you are immersed in the zen of surfing. It to him is as much of a religious experience as being in any pew on Sunday morning. And I have to agree with him on that.
For OC News, I'm Robert Pike.
After the break, we learn more about the LA Dodgers' current losing streak and whether or not they have a chance at clinching a spot in the playoffs.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
And now let's hear from John Antonio with what's going on in the world of sports.
Hey there everyone, and welcome to your sports update. I'm John Antonio. The NFL season finally kicked off this week, and fans are excited to see live game action and keep track of their fantasy points. Speaking of fantasy points, did you see the amount of points the Rams racked up on their play on Sunday? Here we go with the highlights. Colts versus Rams. Scott Tolzien is starting for injured quarterback Andrew Luck for the Colts, and it was a blowout. It was 3rd and 10 in the first quarter when Tolzien, intending for receiver T.Y. Hilton, was intercepted by Tremaine Johnson in return for a pick six. During the second quarter, Rams quarterback Jared Goff throws for another Gerald Everett for a 36-yard pass completion, putting the Rams in a 1st and goal position. Goff threw for a career-high 306 yards for the game. The next play would eventually lead to a Todd Gurley rushing touchdown, putting the Rams 17-3 after the PAT. The third quarter, the Rams up 30-3 when Scott Tolzien throws another interception and LaMarcus Joyner was gone. Another touchdown for the Rams. The Rams in this game scored a total of 6 touchdowns in the game and ended with a final score of 46-9, sending the LA fans home happy before they play the Redskins at home again next Sunday on the 17th of September. Tonight's Monday Night Football coverage is hosting not one, but two. But first of the doubleheader is underway. Between the New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings, former Vikings running back Adrian Peterson is returning to Minnesota as an opponent after signing with the Saints this offseason. Peterson was the Vikings' centerpiece on offense for years and a former 2012 NFL MVP. The Saints led the NFL last season in total offense with 426 yards per game. Meanwhile, the Vikings had the league's 3rd-ranked defense last season, allowing 314 yards per game. Currently, the score is 10-6 Minnesota late in the second quarter. The second matchup will be the Los Angeles Chargers against the Denver Broncos. It will be the Chargers' first game since the offseason move from LA to San Diego. Both respective teams will also have debuts for their head coaches, Vance Joseph of the Broncos and Anthony Lynn of the Chargers. The two AFC West rivals will begin kickoff at 7 p.m. Pacific time. In baseball news, the Dodgers' losing streak still continued on Sunday, losing to the Colorado Rockies. Despite the Dodgers' sizable lead in the NL West, they have dropped 14 out of their 15 games. The Washington Nationals could potentially catch the Dodgers if the slide continues and will face off against each other in a 3-game series at the end of the week. The series could determine the difference between playing the winner of the NL Central and the winner of the wild card game. Meanwhile, this Friday, September 15th, come join your fellow Titans at Cal State Fullerton night at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. The Angels are hosting the Texas Rangers. Tickets can be purchased online. You could also purchase in person at the Titan Student Union Information Services and Desks. It's a $20 purchase to avoid online services. Speaking of the Titans, over the weekend, our men's soccer team shut out San Francisco with a score of 3-0. The second half was when Fullerton dominated and netted 3 goals in the final 45 minutes of action. The Titans controlled the game throughout, outshooting the Dons 18-7, while totaling as many shots on goals as San Francisco had in total shots. The Titans look to get on the winning streak as they return home to host Vermont on Friday, September 15th at 7 p.m. at the Titan Stadium. Now that's going to complete our update on sports. Let's send it back to the ladies at the desk.
Well, that's our show for today. Make sure to follow us on all our social media handles under OC News CSUF. I'm Stephanie Stevenson.
And I'm Rachel Vito. See you next time.